Hey everyone, I'm ABC2 meteorologist Mike Masco. Weather blog time, and I want to spend some time on the winter season because there's been a lot of questions on Twitter to me, and then there's been some bogus reports about about how this winter is going to be very, very cold and snowy, and it's based on no scientific proof. It's just hype, just to get page likes on Facebook, and that's fine and everything. But I want to give you an understanding behind the science and let you know what we're looking at and how we're going to kind of come up with the winter forecast for you sometime in the early November timeframe. That's when I like to release the winter outlook. Yes, it coincides with sweeps. I am in a business for ratings, but I'm also in the business for being right, and I want to be closer to the winter months and be accurate versus putting out these hokey, crazy forecasts. Okay, so that's my explanation on that. So let's start this talk on the winter with looking at the snows falling. There's some early season snows over Montana, so I'll bring you over to Maryland's most powerful weather radar. And you do see the snows coming down right into the northern Montana. You get in towards extreme northern Montana, Calgary border with Canada. They're going to be seeing about a foot and maybe 15 inches of snow. That's right around the Great Falls, Stanford section of that I-15 corridor. If you can pull up some MDOT cameras from Montana along the I-15 corridor, some really amazing stuff going on out there. So there is some snow falling in the country right now. It's not anything abnormal. I mean, it is September 10th, and we do have a lot of cold air draining in, meeting up with some of that summer warmth, and we're getting precipitation falling. And of course, the high elevations, being where they're located, is going to pick up snow. So this isn't abnormal. And again, if you see any blogs that are saying that this is historic, it's certainly not, because this is expected. Now, I want to take a look at the sea surface temperatures across the entire globe, because there's a few things standing out right now. Of course, to talk about the El Nino, we're seeing a warming across the entire equatorial Pacific, from the western sections of South America right up towards northeastern Australia. So we're seeing some good warming in here, but we also still have some cooling that's going on just to the south of the equator. So it's not the most pronounced and well-defined El Nino event. But nonetheless, it's still an El Nino, and the latest SOI numbers coming in, the Southern Oscillation Index numbers. We look at these numbers and we want to see negative, and anything below -8 is an indication of a strengthening El Nino. So the last 90 days, -6.6, the last 30 days, -9.6, and we just closed out the month of August at -10. So that's telling me that we have a strengthening El Nino. That means that we're relaxing the Pacific trade winds, and that means we're going to continue to see this signal develop even further. So that's some good news, because the El Nino strengthens our southern jet stream, and that will bring more moisture into the country. And again, we can't snow in the December, January, February, March timeframe unless we have moisture. And you have moisture, it snows, and everybody's happy, at least if you like snow. If you don't, maybe you're not going to like this video blog very much. Another thing we're looking at is the PDO signature. That's up towards the waters just south of Alaska and south of British Columbia. We are seeing the waters very, very warm, which is interesting because usually a strengthening El Nino, you see cool waters up here, and that's not what we're observing. And when you see warm waters south of Alaska right in here, that's usually an indication of a stronger ridge. Now, a stronger ridge or high will keep things a little bit more unseasonably mild over the Pacific Northwest and into the western United States, and that would bring in or funnel in cold air into the east. So that's another thing we're starting to watch, and that's pretty interesting. And then we take a look at the Atlantic, and we're watching a signal that's developing right now called the Atlantic Tripole. It's a configuration of water temperatures. When you get warm water south of Greenland, you get cool water in between that and some abnormal warm water just off the African coastline and off Spain. And we're seeing that signature starting to develop, and that's typically, now not always all the time, but typically an indicator of a negative North Atlantic oscillation. So that's what we're looking at overall. That's the wide view. We cannot predict the NAO, the QBO. We can't predict the PNA this far out. I'm sure I'm missing something. WPO, EPO just yet, because those are things that change weekly, or it can change bi-weekly, or bi-monthly rather. Here's the sea surface temperatures real quickly. Again, going through the months. Again, we had this cool You know, last winter was brutal, but we didn't have a lot of juice from the southern jet stream. So you can see how the sea surface temperatures on Nino 4, this is the middle of the Pacific, Nino 3.4, these temperatures have all been rising since April. So it's an indication of a strengthening El Nino. And if you look at some of our forecast models, this is modeling into the November, December, January, February periods. Strong indication of more El Nino conditions than La Nina conditions. So, you know, worst case scenario is the El Nino doesn't really get itself together. The soy switches around. We increase our Pacific trade winds. You know, maybe we stay at neutral and El Nino. We get a Modoki type of El Nino situation. That's still not bad. At least we're pumping moisture in the United States, and that would be good for you snow lovers. So let's deal with the next September 10th today to October 25th, again indicating that we're going to continue to see some cool air coming into the east. We're going to see warmer conditions out towards the west, so I think we're going to see this pattern developing into the end of October where you're going to get some cool spells, you're going to get some warm spells. There's no clear indicator of which one's going to outweigh the other. I want to show you, though, this CFS V2 forecast model for October, November, December. Now this is going into the early portion of the winter months, and I want to show you how it's picking up on some very, very, very warm air out towards the west. An indicator, I think, that the model is starting to see the more ridging developing because of the, you know, abnormally warm water south of Alaska. And then you notice how the model is kind of having a little bit of a fight with itself over the eastern United States, trying to figure out exactly what it's going to do for temperature. So this is a pretty good indicator that there's going to be a lot of blocking out towards the west coast, and I think we're going to see a lot of cool air invasions. Now November may be a little bit warmer, but October and right now into December might go really cold for you know, about a week or half a week, and then you get warm and you modify your temperatures. And then if we look at the 10-day chunks for the November, December, January time period, so we moved it up one more, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on because it's now starting to indicate that there's maybe some development of, you know, or not development, but what I'm trying to say is more of an influence from the southern jet stream. And you can note that by all these blue colorings in here. So that's indicating cooler than normal air, which I would suspect has to do with moisture or higher moisture content. And then you look out to the west, still showing some warmer than average temperatures, an indicator there might be more blocking out towards the west coast. So some really interesting stuff showing up in the models. We're going to continue to look at this at ABC2. We are the only station in the market, in this Baltimore market, to put out winter outlooks. So hopefully you stay with us, and we'll put a nice package together for you, and we'll come up with a better look. But follow me on Twitter right now and Facebook, because I will put out some information as I see it over the next couple of months. All right, we'll see you on ABC2 News at 5, 6, and 11 o'clock. Have a great day.